as we've been just talking now about resentment, letting go of expectations, we've come off the back of talking about masculine energy, really being in that mode. And so I'd love for you to just share, like, what's been your experience, Vic, as it's been a journey for you? And it still continues to be a journey because we never arrive and we're never there. And so I just wondered if you could just speak to where you were at, how you've worked through the challenges that you've had in marriage, and what feels really hopeful for you now. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Thanks, Nat. Nat and I have worked together probably for about 18 months now, doing one-on-one coaching. And I guess for me, I specifically signed up with Nat because I just didn't want to be angry and resentful to my husband anymore. Like I was, I'm actually a person who's super positive. I'll always see a cup half full. Yet when it came to our relationship, I was just so angry all the time. Most of that coaching, actually, we barely even touched on the relationship in a lot of the calls, because actually there was just so much work that I needed to do on myself first, even though if he just did more stuff, like just helped in the house more, it's not about me, it's about him. He needs to do more. Like, why is it all on me? But I guess through that process, and it has been a journey, and it's not like I am not there yet. I am definitely not there yet. But I think for me, I've now started to realize the pattern when I get into that resentful mode. So for me, it's about when I feel overwhelmed with the kids. I've got 3 children, 14, 10, and 7. I would describe them all as very complex children, very high demanding needs on my emotional energy. And so what I've often found is that when I'm struggling with them, where I feel like I'm physically being pulled in every direction, that resentment bubbles up so strong, because I'm like, why is this on me? Why do I have to feel this deep, like this real like tightness in my chest? Because I'm trying to keep them all happy, which in itself is a lot of the work I've been doing. Because, of my own childhood and my own relationship with my mother. So a lot of this actually then came out as this anger and resentment to my husband, because I'm like, why is it all on me? It's not fair. And so now I recognize that. I try and ground and center myself. What I often do is I will type him a text message, angry text message, they're like, this is not fair. Like, why is it on me? But I don't send it. And I save it in a little Trello board because I like to keep things. But it just, and then I'm like, okay, I've said my piece. I don't have to send it, but I've said my piece. And then his journey, where a couple of months ago, him and I, he's my childhood sweetheart. We got together when I was 15. And a couple of months ago, he was the one who actually said to me, maybe we should look at separating, because I cannot continue to disappoint you every day. Like, I'm doing the best that I can, but I can't live like this either. Like, I desperately want you to be happy. And if I'm not making you happy, and it was this real like, oh my God, it was the real jolt that I probably needed to get out of that. Yeah, but it's still him. Like, I'm still doing all the stuff. Like, all I'm asking for is to be joint parents here, But through, I guess, the last more than a decade of, understanding that identity shift that I've been through in becoming a mother, I've realized just how I've beaten him down, like genuinely, just with my harsh words. And it's just that sense of he's just constantly disappointing me. And I think a lot of that is because I've struggled so much with understanding who I am now that I'm a mother, because I was always so career focused, and still am. And I'm very driven, and I'm going, well, how come you get to just get dressed in the morning and go to work? Like, why am I here dealing with this chaos? Because I still have to go to my job too, But through that process for me, it was about actually putting myself into his shoes and thinking, can you imagine, like, if I came home from work and, in my head, it was always like, well, you've just been at work. I mean, like, so easy. But I know what it's like. Like, my work days are demanding, right? I'm emotionally drained by the end of my work day because I have a lot of people that report to me. And so he would get in and he just, to the storm of like angry, sulky kind of, I'm just going, what the hell is going on here? And I kind of thought, what I try to do now is go, imagine that was me coming in and he was like that. I am the one, asking for help, but at the same time, I just take over and do it myself. And when he does do it, I tell him I've done it wrong. So he can't win. And so it's kind of like, a retraining of both of us. desperately, the thing I say to Nat the most is all I want is to be Team Wren. I want us to be one of those families that we're really a team and we're not. But I think I've also been the driver of that. It's what I desperately want, but I'm actually the one who's created that sense of individuality, or it's not fair, or and so I guess for me it's been taking responsibility for that.
I just love your candidness and self-ownership of what you were just sharing in that piece, because what I heard you say, and the piece that was really the big jolt and pattern interrupt, was when Gav turned around and said to you, I don't want to keep disappointing you. I do want to make you happy. Remember Alison Armstrong's words? He actually does want to make you happy, but he actually doesn't know how to. And then as that kind of landed for you, that was really confronting. And then you've had some kind of time to process it. And just what I heard you just now share was this piece of, wow, over the last however many years, and you guys have been together since, my goodness, kids, 2 decades. And so what
26 years.
Wow. Okay. Yep. One of the pieces that has been so incredible to witness and so powerful to see was that when you reflect back, step out of it and witness from an eagle eye view and go, wow, I can see my contribution. It was me and my harsh words and all of those. And this is the piece that will shift. This is things have just in doses, right? In sprinkles, you've been saying that Gav's like, he's changing, but he hasn't changed. It's like, you've changed and he's responding to that change. Okay. This martyr thing that's been going on, has it been helpful? And I know you've had some beautiful conversations at work to really just start to address that and question that. And so I just wanted to highlight here, for those who are here in the room, those who are watching the replay, it's just how Vicky's just such a stellar example of the women of our generation that we've been brought up to be so independent. And we were of generation latchkey kids, or we just had to work it out. Like our parents were hardly even around. And so we had to work things out, which means that we are very independent, capable women who just work things out on our own. And then we have to ask ourselves, is this helpful to have this in partnership?
He's not a big talker. He's not, like, I lose him quite quickly when I try and communicate some of this stuff. And so for me, actually, at the moment, it's, I guess, the real shift that's happened for me, and it's only been like really recently, is putting myself at the center of what is it that I want. I desperately want to be deeply connected to my husband. That's what I desperately want. Well, then what am I going to do to make that happen? Rather than, I guess, I just constantly had this narrative in my head of, well, everything's all on me. He doesn't like to talk. Like, I might as well just be a single mum. It would make no difference, that all of that. And then every time he didn't do something that I, had an expectation around, like, you see, just proving my point. And so the difference now is that I've actually put myself in the center in terms of going, what do I want? I want that deep connection with him, but I can't have that deep connection if he is so downtrodden from me constantly telling him how shit he is, and he doesn't say that in words, like, but that is, he's in that constant defensive mode. And so there's never going to be connection then. And through the little things of, when he comes home and he's like, oh, I've had a really tough day. And I was always in this like competition of like, well, if you think you've had a tough day, my job is way harder than yours. And it's ridiculous that you get paid more than me. And like on my high horse feminist, but as opposed to just going, oh, yeah, that sounds really tough. And not me, because what I need is deep connection. And so it's that constantly, that's what I keep coming back to, is like, if I want that connection, I have to soften and be that feminine, nurturing person that he fell in love with.
On all levels, for how you show up, how you are just so committed to doing this work, and appreciate you. There's so much kind of resonance in the chat box that I'm seeing that people are sharing here. So thank you, as always, sharing so candidly and